Welcome to In Pursuit of Truth. This is your host, Sir Patrick Mack. We got more Q posts on Christmas Eve. 37:48, 28 minutes after the hour of 11, we get two Breitbart links. Important to read and understand. Why do Democrats want to flood the U.S. with illegal immigrants? This is not another 4-year election. Our democracy is at stake. Power and control. Do not mistake this back channel tool as a means to be complacent. Fight, fight, fight. Your voice and your vote matters. And it takes you to Breitbart. Study immigration to redistribute 26 congressional seats to blue states for 2022 election. The nation's illegal and legal immigration system will help shift 26 congressional seats primarily from red states and redistribute them to mostly blue states next year, according to new analysis. Let me just give you the breakdown here. Ohio, a swing state that voted for President Trump in 2016, will get 3 fewer congressional seats in 2020 due to mass immigration in other states. Michigan and Pennsylvania, also states that voted for Trump in 2016, will each have 2 fewer congressional seats. Wisconsin, a Trump-supporting swing state, will have its congressional seats cut by at least 1. Red states such as Alabama, Arkansas, Georgia, Idaho, Indiana, Iowa, Kentucky, Louisiana, Mississippi, Missouri, North Carolina, Oklahoma, South Carolina, Tennessee, Utah, and West Virginia, Camerota and Ziegler predict will all get 1 less congressional seat in 2020. Smaller blue states such as Minnesota and Rhode Island will each receive 1 less congressional seat. Those seats cut from mostly red states will be redistributed to California, who's wasted everything we've given them. The most immigration-inundated state in the country. California by 2020 is set to gain 11 congressional seats solely due to the fact that non-citizens, rather than just American citizens, are counted in congressional apportionment. Likewise, New York, where nearly 40% of residents are foreign-born, is set to gain 4 more congressional seats, and New Jersey, with a more than 22% foreign-born population, will also take an additional 2 congressional seats. Texas, which has become increasingly blue due to immigration and out-of-state young people, will gain another 4 congressional seats, as will the swing state of Florida, with its foreign-born population of 4.1 million. The second article, also from Breitbart, red state Democrat governors approve more refugees for their states. Democrat governors representing red states such as Kentucky, North Carolina, Montana, and Kansas have approved more refugee settlement in 2020 for their states. For fiscal year 2020, President Donald Trump will continue cutting refugee admissions by reducing former President Barack Obama's refugee inflow by at least 80%. This reduction would mean a maximum of 18,000 refugees can be resettled in the U.S. between October 1st, 2019 and September 30th, 2020. This is merely a numerical limit and not a goal federal officials are supposed to reach. Coupled with the refugee reduction, Trump signed an executive order that gives localities, counties, and states veto power over the resettlement of refugees in their communities. Now let me skip you down here. North Carolina was one of the first states to welcome refugees to the United States after the United States Refugee Act was signed into law in 1980. Cooper wrote in his letter to Pompeo asking for more refugee resettlement. Our state has a strong network of community and faith-based groups which aid in the resettlement of refugees who seek safety from persecution. Also asking for more refugees is Republican Governor of Iowa, Kim Reynolds, joining Republican Governors Bill Lee of Tennessee, Doug Ducey of Arizona, Doug Burgum of North Dakota, and Gary Herbert of Utah. For months, organizations with ties to billionaire George Soros have carried out a pressure campaign on Republican governors who have readily caved to ask that refugees continue being resettled. Likewise, in states like Iowa and North Dakota, the big business lobby and donors have continuously claimed they need more refugees to fill jobs. Refugee contractors have a vested interest in making sure as many refugees are resettled across the U.S. as possible because their annual federally funded budgets are contingent on the number of refugees they resettle. Those refugee contractors include Church World Service, Ethiopian Community Development Council, Episcopal Migration Ministries, Hebrew Immigration Aid Society, International Rescue Committee, U.S. Committee for Refugees and Immigrants, Lutheran Immigration and Refugee Services, U.S. Conference of Catholic Bishops, and World Relief Corporation. All right, so I'm going to stop right there. So I think you guys are getting the picture here, right? A lot of these people are being pressured. It doesn't really matter what side of the aisle. As a matter of fact, I would imagine that Republicans are getting hit even harder because they really want to pressure them to resettle refugees. Now, yes, the states can sort of vote to veto this, but this is a really, really big mess. And there's a big mess just within these groups right here. Now, I would suggest if you're familiar with any of these groups, that you get people familiar with these groups, because there's a lot of knuckleheadedry going on in here. If you watched my Weatherman, I believe it was my Weatherman 2 video, I mentioned the U.S. Conference of Catholic Bishops. This is wrapped up with the Clinton Foundation and a lot of human trafficking, including Angelina Jolie's group, which is escaping my mind right now, Kids in Need of Defense. I think that's what it is. Kids in Need of Legal Defense. But anyway, this is has a lot of connections to human trafficking. So these are very, very suspect. And if you will remember that it was a group very much like this that got busted in Haiti some years ago with Laura Silsby, which was the whole thing that kicked off the entire Pizzagate conspiracy with Hillary Clinton, her foundation out there in Haiti and whatnot. So this is all going down in the U.S. And of course, this is all happening just in time for elections. You get the idea, right? Okay, so I think we all understand the danger of this, right? And I think we understand that the Democrats have been doing this for years, flooding the borders full of illegal immigrants, hoping that they will in turn vote Democrat for them and keep them in power. Doesn't really matter how they do it. And of course, we have some districts that are vetoing this, which just causes a redistribution of immigrants. But what this is leading to now is a redistribution of congressional seats. And that could be really, really dangerous for the long-term democratic process of our republic. But let me turn you on to this case, because I think this is relevant. This is the United States versus Sinanang Smith, is a case scheduled for argument before the Supreme Court of the United States on February 25th, 2020. So not too far out. During the court's October 2019-2020 term. The case came on a writ of certiorari from the United States Court of Appeals for the Ninth Circuit. The case, Evelyn Sinanang Smith was convicted on 2 counts of encouraging or inducing illegal immigration for financial gain. The Northern District of California sentenced Sinanang Smith to up to 18 months in prison and 3 years of supervised release. The United States Court of Appeals for the Ninth Circuit reversed the convictions, vacated the sentence, and remanded the case for resentencing. The government petitioned SCOTUS for review, arguing the Ninth Circuit invalidated an act of Congress on its face. The issue, whether the federal criminal prohibition against encouraging or inducing illegal immigration for commercial advantage or private financial gain in violation of 8 U.S.C. 1324 is facially unconstitutional. Here is the case from SCOTUSblog.com. We're just going to check a few things out here that I want to point out. Let me take you down to the introduction, where we talk about the defendant, appellant Evelyn Sinanang Smith, was convicted on 2 counts. We've already talked about this, right? Violation of 8 U.S.C. 1324. And that's what they've already decided. Permits a felony prosecution of any person who encourages or induces an alien to come to, enter, or reside in the United States, if the encourager knew or recklessly disregarded the fact that such coming to, entry, or residence is or will be in violation of the law. And that's exactly what they decided, right? It was the Ninth Circuit that overturned this. Now it's up to the Supreme Court. We must decide whether subsection 4 abridges constitutionally protected speech. To answer this question, we must decide what encourages or induces means. Okay, so this is going up to the Supreme Court now. And this is going to happen in February. Really, really odd timing, right? This is going to take the attention of the Supreme Court. They need to decide a very, very big case here. Now, they've already decided that this person has broken the law. And then the Ninth Circuit wanted to overturn it. And now we have to finally decide what this really, really means. But this sets a lot of precedent, not just for this Evelyn Sinanang Smith, but for anybody guilty of this. Doesn't really matter what their political party is. This is an illegal thing to do. Now let's talk about the case. Sinanang Smith operated an immigration consulting firm in San Jose, California. Her clients were mostly natives of the Philippines, unlawfully employed in the home healthcare industry in the United States, who sought authorization to work and adjustment of status to obtain legal permanent residence green cards. So I guess that would also mean they could vote. Sinanang Smith assisted clients with applying for a labor certification and then for a green card. She signed retainer agreements with her clients that specified the purpose of the retention as assisting the client to obtain permanent residence through labor certification. The problem was that the labor certification process expired on April 30th, 2001. Aliens who arrived in the United States after December 21st, 2000 were not eligible to receive permanent residence through the program. Sinanang Smith knew that the program had expired. She nonetheless continued to sign retainer agreements with her clients and tell them that they could obtain green cards via labor certifications. And she also continued to sign new retainer agreements purportedly to assist additional clients and obtaining labor certifications. Okay, so you get the idea. She knew it was wrong. She did it anyway because she was making a ton of coin. Okay, so slowly the big picture starts to come a little bit more clear, right? Why do Democrats want to flood the U.S. with illegal immigrants? Well, short term, they want to win this election, right? 2020, but it's not just another 4-year election. This is about shifting congressional seats, changing the whole face of this democratic process, right? Keep in mind, this case that I just talked about here was going to be heard in February 2020. Well, I'm sure Democrats would love to impeach by then, right? Because if they impeach, they could probably shift a lot of other things, and that may even affect the outcome of this Supreme Court case. It's going to be a very important case that they're going to be hearing oral arguments for. Now, remember this post 3742. Why is Pelosi holding the 2 articles of impeachment? Yeah, if they really have something, they really think it's a strong case, they should be able to push it through, and it would have its own merit, and it would work, and we'd impeach the president, right? But we all know that's not the case. This is a defensive move. And of course, if she goes ahead and passes it through right now, it's not going to get the votes. Mitch McConnell stated that already. The Senate's been very clear that they're going to shut it down. Well, that's not going to drag through till, say, February 2020, right? Now, if this case gets upheld, this person will not only do time, but I would imagine a lot of restitution, a lot of money being paid back to taxpayers. But what this also does is it sets a precedent for anyone else who's been guilty of this. And this could be a real damning thing for Democrats, because we know that there are a lot of Democrats and Republicans that are pulling this very same thing. So it sets a precedent for them too. So it seems to me like they may be very afraid of the outcome of this case, and they're just sitting on these articles of impeachment just so that the narrative will stay out there, and hopefully they'll be able to, whether they're going to blackmail somebody or whatever, hopefully they'll swing some votes in their way and get impeachment finally working through. But I don't imagine that's ever going to happen. I don't think they imagine it's going to happen. Now, we talked about yesterday about them trying to get some of the information from grand jury material and stuff like that. That's another aspect of it. But I do think this case has a lot of bearing on this because, like I said, it sets a major precedent. This gets upheld, then of course this is going to put a lot of them under the gun, and it could lead to more arrests, and it could really destroy the Democratic Party. But more importantly for them, the democratic process moving forward. That's what they really want to dismantle, right? And of course, if this gets overturned and it maintains overturned, then of course this person gets off the hook, and any Democrat moving forward also gets off the hook. So I think this is a big case. I think this is a bigger part of why the Democrats are wanting to flood the borders. And I think this is also another aspect of why Pelosi is withholding these articles of impeachment. Now, I want to turn you on to a couple of things, maybe something, maybe nothing, but Q refers to the Democrats often as D's, and we see it in brackets here. We don't always see the 4 in brackets here, though. D, 4, and tool all in brackets. Now, let me turn you on to this site right here. This is called specialcounsel.com. Your legal solutions partner, and they do all kinds of legal consulting. But what really caught my eye was that they do a lot of weird AI stuff. Now, let me turn your attention down here to one of their tools, our service offerings, D4 Technology and E-Discovery Services. And here it is right here, D4 Technology and Discovery. You can see right here, artificial intelligence. What can our artificial intelligence do for you? Pinpoint, group, find, and review your most relevant data. Remove, duplicate, and near duplicate records, and do it all faster and more efficiently than ever. Sounds handy. Now let me take you down even further here. International. You may have noticed that e-discovery projects often take you across borders, so you'll need someone to help you navigate the various data protection and privacy laws. Turn to our experts for their help in securely collecting, processing, analyzing, producing, and even hosting your international data. We can even provide you with a qualified foreign language attorneys and legal professionals. Also sounds handy. Staying on the site, I'm under the software and training section. I want to take you down here. When you partner with our advanced technology team, you'll have your choice of the most wide-ranging e-discovery offerings available anywhere, including, and then there's a whole bunch of different programs here. We're not going to go through all of them. A couple curious ones that I found was this Access Data and this Mind's Eye called Tunnel Vision. But I want to turn your attention to this, D4 Discover Mobile, and that's right here. Mobile device evidence review made easy. Reviewing mobile device data used to be as frustrating as it was time-consuming. D4's Discover Mobile prepares mobile device evidence for easy import into the review platform, enabling legal and investigation teams to search, review, and produce mobile device evidence alongside traditional forms of ESI. And here's just a few of the offerings here. Allows text messages to be reviewed and produced alongside traditional ESI. Enables searching, filtering, sorting, and analysis of text messages across multiple devices at once. And of course, searching for emojis here. Supports the applications of redactions and Bates labels to individual text messages. I suppose that would be real handy, right? Maintains message attachments with a family relationship to the parent and prepares mobile device data for import into Relativity, iPro, Eclipse, or any other e-discovery review platform that accepts standard load files. Okay, so I'm not sure if this has anything to do with anything, but considering the way these people like to go back and forth with their text messages and how Q has pointed this out many, many times, I found this very, very curious. Post 3749, 48 minutes after the hour of 11, we get this YouTube link right here. It's to an interview on Maria Bartiromo, Representative Jeff Andrew of New Jersey, and he is talking about how he recently switched parties. Check it out.
Final sign for me was, oddly enough, actually in my home county, when one of the county chairmen, and I have 8 counties, one of the county chairmen came to me and said, I have to speak with you. And I said, sure, and sat down, and he said, I just want to let you know that you have to vote for impeachment. And I said, what do you mean? And he said, you've got to vote for impeachment. If you don't, you're not going to be able to run in my county. It all boils down to one vote, that I may have my own individual opinion on one vote, and that's not going to be allowed. I'm going to be punished for that. And that's when I knew. I had been thinking about it for a while, and I said, and I was speaking to my chief of staff about this, and I said to her, I said, there's always been in my career and over time something that happens that lets you know that it is time to make a change.
Congress is going to have to go back to its district, and we've got a map here of the 31 districts of what the districts that President Trump won, but these people will have to get reelected, and they also have to follow their conscience. And yet, this impeachment vote last week, you were among the few. You and Colin Peterson were the only two that voted no on both articles, and then one other voted no on just one article. So, post-impeachment vote, what are you feeling today? What struck you about the impeachment? You were a no going into it. You told us that a month ago.
Exactly. And how I feel today is I feel good. I feel that I did the honorable thing. I feel that I did what was right for me and right for the country. And I heard Lindsay a little while before. This impeachment is a weak, thin impeachment that just doesn't really mean anything much to most of the American people. And it has been a long, dark shadow on our country.
Well, Q says, watch and listen carefully. We just did. Democrats threaten and call independently elected officials to fall in line, follow orders, or face being ousted. Well, that's what Jeff Andrews seems to be saying. Who controls the Democrat Party? Who really controls the Democrat Party? Well, it's whoever's got the money, right? Threat: if a major political party can be controlled, does that represent a clear and present danger to the United States of America? Indeed, it does. And that's exactly why guys like this George Soros right here has been banned from so many countries. I think he's on his 6th country now, something like that. This guy has been recognized around the world as an economic terrorist, and this is exactly why. He wants to control by any means necessary. And look, if this were happening to Republicans, he'd be doing the same thing. He doesn't really care about party. He cares about flooding these borders. He cares about open borders. He cares about one world government. And in order to really implement that around the world, you have to do it to a country like the United States. That's always been his plan. That's always going to be his plan. And that's exactly why he's banned in all these countries. Let's move on. Post 3750, 58 minutes after the hour of 11, we get this link right here. From Fox News, Trump not backing down in effort to count citizens amid census fight, announces executive order. President Trump, speaking at the White House on Thursday, announced that he would immediately issue an executive order to get an accurate count of non-citizens and citizens in the United States, a measure Trump said would be far more accurate than relying on a citizenship question in the 2020 census. The move would make use of vast federal databases and free up information sharing among all federal agencies concerning who they know is living in the country, Trump said. Today, I'm here to say we are not backing down in our effort to determine the citizenship status of the United States population, the president told reporters in the Rose Garden after slamming far-left Democrats seeking to conceal the number of illegal aliens in our midst. We will leave no stone unturned, Trump asserted. He called legal opposition to adding a citizenship question to the 2020 census meritless, but said the ongoing judicial morass in several federal district courts made it logistically impossible to resolve the matter before the 2020 census forms need to be printed. Now I'm going to skip you down further a little bit here. Let's talk about the Supreme Court decision. Barr also agreed with Trump that the Supreme Court decision last month posed insurmountable logistical but not legal barriers to asking the citizenship question on the census. The government already has started the lengthy and expensive process of printing the census questionnaire without the question. Additionally, Barr slammed media reports that the White House would issue an executive order in an attempt to illegally force a citizenship question on the census. In the hysterical mode of the day, Barr said, media outlets speculated that Trump simply would add the question to the census unilaterally. This has never been under consideration, Barr said. Many Democrats promptly characterized the president's move as a retreat and condemned the news conference. Others vowed to consider challenging the executive order in court. President Trump is so intent on intimidating communities of color that even when the courts and rules of law thwart him, he still tries to persist in his ham-handed ways. Okay, so you get the idea. They've been battling over this for a while. I don't know how this is going to end up turning out, but obviously it would seem to make sense when you're trying to count how many people are in your country. You might want to just count the legal ones. But there you go. Q says, why are Democrats attempting to block the counting of illegal immigrants? 2 + 2 = 4. Yeah, they don't want you to count them coming into the country, but make sure you count them when it comes time for voting, right? What is the total number of illegal immigrants currently in the U.S.? Who knows? They're illegal. We don't count them until voting time. What is the real total number of illegal immigrants currently in the U.S.? Well, like I said, it might be more accurate to just count their votes. That might be a better way of tallying how many there are. By flooding coastal states controlled by Democrats like California, does this pull votes out of the heartland? Yeah, we just saw that. We just saw that talking about congressional seating, right? That's more about what they're really, really going after. At what point will your voice and your vote become null and void? Well, hopefully never, because, obviously Q is doing everything that they can, but this is up to us too. This isn't just a matter of sitting back and waiting for Q to fix everything. This is all about our participation and about us being able to spread this message so that people really understand what's going on. And we just saw with this Jeff Van Drew how he was, really kind of coming to his senses over all this. This is about all of us pulling together and making sure that this becomes a part of the public narrative. 5-5, meaning do you read loud and clear? We sure do, Q. Let's move on. Post 3751, 51 minutes after the hour of 12, we get a Twitter status to Methods, who's another Q all-star these days. I hope you all realize just how important your work here has been so far. Nunes even admitted that our research has helped in their investigations. Check it out.
Now, we have long had real concerns about what was happening overseas. And so you can start with, and all your listeners know, and I want to thank you, to all your listeners, all the people you put that are out there on Twitter. It really made, in the grand scheme of things, a big difference because it really helped out our investigation. And we'll probably talk about that a little later, but I really do want to thank a lot of your listeners and Twitter followers because, they would dig stuff up and we'd say, oh, we didn't think of that. And it would help us to go out and look at different items. And, as you know, there's people all over the globe that helped aid this.
So there you go. Q says 5-5, meaning loud and clear. Q and Nunes are thanking all of you Anons for all your great work, your great threads and videos, and all the work that Anons have done all over the world is really helping aid them in their research and their investigations. And of course, some people are getting called out for it, which is really, really great to see. And hopefully in the future, someday, some of the hard work that many of these patriots have been putting in will finally get recognized. Let's move on. Post 3752, 58 minutes after the hour of 12, Q responds to an Anon who says, let Mr. Nunes know he's very welcome. It gets very wild in here at times, but the real Q research gets done despite all the BS going on around us. And here's this little meme here. It says, it was hell out there when we were surrounded. The shills came at us from all sides in a relentless attack. This JPEG is entitled with an EM at the beginning. Q says, keep up the good fight, Anons. Q. Post 3753, 5 minutes after the hour 1, we get a Twitter status to Chuck Woolery, who says, America's newsroom is us. We have all become the alternative news media. Yeah, it seems like that is the case these days. So congratulations to a lot of you who are getting the much needed attention, and hopefully this will lead to the important stories finally being told. And thanks to you, Chuck Woolery, who has always been on the forefront of a lot of that. So thank you for all you do, and thanks to all of you Anons. Those are your Q posts. For now, it's Christmas, so I'm out of here. You know the deal. All the links are down below, and I'll see you next time.